Hello, friends. I have some thoughts about addiction and cycles and behavior, patterns and behavior. I've been thinking a lot about this. So, if you have an addictive personality or obsessive, or you think that's what it is, check out some of these things I'm about to say. To start off, maybe you think sometime in your life, you say, okay, this person on the streets that is looking motley, no teeth, rough teeth, the skin is gone, they're sad looking, they're living this way. And I'm saying inside of my head this same question all my life, questioning things like this, wanting to know what's going on. How does a person get to that point? And after looking at quite a bit of information, quite a bit, these are some of my thoughts. A pattern, a cycle. A cycle of the brain only going so far with something and then subconsciously giving in, subconsciously going toward certain people and going towards certain things in life. So one, the the distraction for one, or the attention to things that you are interested in. So this is brain functioning. So this is specific to the brain that you were born with. Because there's some people that can use so-called hard drugs and say, oh, that made me feel awful and I'm not going to use it again. And then there's some people that use it the first time and say, this is life-changing for me, and I don't know if I'm ever going to get away from this ever again. I've heard that. I've heard people say that on videos and such. If a person goes two steps and says, well, there's no reason to go this way, there's no reason to go that way, and that's how they've always lived their life, basically, or from a certain point in their youth where they roll over to where their brain changes, somewhat of a schizophrenia type thing. Brain changes over to something where now they have no interests, and interestingly, they go to the drugs because they now lack that interest in life, so they're going to things that they know that can make them feel good because they hear that these things can make them feel good, or they're aware or have experienced alcohol or yeah. So they're aware. They go to these harder drugs. They're around other people for harder drugs, and then now they have introduced that drug to their mind, and they know the mind is going to recall that where they can go to that. Now, for females, they go toward the alpha males, the the dream guys, and the dream guys have that power that they can manipulate the younger gals, the vulnerable, impressionable younger gals. And if they can get the younger gals to use heroin, such as a drug dealer, so say a younger gal is attracted to a good looking, successful drug dealer, whatever, and she's has butterflies in her stomach about this guy, and he's saying, "Yeah, use this. It'll be fine." Lies to her. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'm saying this is probably one of the number one reasons that younger females, teenagers, are going to get introduced to heroin or cocaine. Not so much just a party thing. It's because they've hooked up with someone, and then there's love feelings, and then there's trusting, and then there's misleading from the male. So now the male has them using an addictive substance. They are addictive personalities. They lacked something in their life, their family situations. They now found someone that they love, regardless of family situations. If they find someone that they love, that they look up to, the dream guy that's that they want so badly, this dream guy is going to take advantage of them. So he's got them using, and we're talking about the power situation here. And these guys can go on to the next person, and the next person, the next person. And as soon as they've got you, and they can use you for whatever, they can put you in the back and still have you coming around for those drugs until they separate from those people and they go off to other people. Now let me talk about the emptiness and the decline of this cycle. I'm going to say mostly younger people, because they are impressionable, and a lot of younger people possibly have never had this conversation with parents or anyone, or took it seriously about any of this stuff that I'm about to talk about. As far as the pattern, as far as the cycle goes, it's something that they're going to go back to. They're going to fall back to in their mind. So here they are, they're using, now there's going to be the need for the dough, because this stuff is expensive. It's going to be the need for the dough. And there's going to constantly be inside the mind that they can only use so much and hold off. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with that. The body downregulates and upregulates whatever it is you're using. So say you're drinking coffee, or you're drinking sports drinks, Monsters, whatever. Your body is going to upregulate what caffeine is doing in your body. So you'll notice that you are possibly wanting more because you're not getting enough. So you're drinking 2 cups of coffee, or you're drinking this, or you're drinking that. As long as you are going for more and more and more, the body's going to upregulate the receptors. It's to not go too deep. Your receptors, your cells, your uptake. This is the same way with heroin, with cocaine, with methamphetamine. Here's the hole that you're going to be going into if you're using drugs, and you're young. This is the hole you're going to be going into. This is the pattern in the cycle that you're not going to beat. It's going to get you, and you're not going to beat it. You've got to entirely remove yourself from the substance. Alcohol, whatever. You've got to entirely remove yourself from the substance, or else the cycle is going to get back to where you are taking too much. And so a younger person is possibly holding on to school or whichever. They're using. The family possibly knows about it. The family does not want this young gal to prostitute, which is inevitably where you're going to go. You're going to end up prostituting. And so you say, no, I can do only for fans. I could have good looking boyfriends that put the dough in my hand, and I'm not necessarily prostituting. I have non-exclusive relationships with numerous men, which is not unusual. It's not unusual for females to do. So the more physically attractive that you are, the more this is going to be tempting for you to do all these things, because it's going to be so simple for you to carry on this way. Now, say you're a male and you're just a Joe. Well, they don't really have that option, whatever, that capability. So they're going to be going off fast and doing some dubious things so that way they can get their drugs. Not the females, not the attractive younger females. They can roll with this for a couple of years, 3 or 4 years. And these drugs take a toll. They're going to rip your body up. They're going to destroy your brain. They're going to destroy your teeth. Your teeth are going to turn brown, generally. If you're using any of these, crack cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, if you're using any of these, or opiates, pills, or cocaine, snorting it, your teeth are going to go. It's some people more or less, some people faster than others. I've seen younger people, teeth gone before they're even 20. Brown, starting to blacken, falling out. Crack cocaine is going to have it's a vasoconstrictor. Same with methamphetamine. That's cutting off the blood supply to your teeth and all of the rest of your body. Your teeth. You could brush your teeth 1,000 times a day. It's in the tooth. It's in the blood supply, not going to the tooth. The tooth is going to die and fall out. That's why crack cocaine smokers, their teeth fall out fast. With heroin, it has to do with the body absorbing less in calcium and minerals leaving the body. And that's why the teeth turn brown. And clear looking, more transparent looking, until they are actually breaking. And then there's the tooth recedes up to the gums, and then they have tooth nubs, and their skin goes, they're wrinkly looking, and think about what the dopamine does, think about what cocaine and mainly heroin is going to do to your dopamine receptors in your brain. So that's all your interests in life. That's all you're giving a crap about, anything in life. Think about what that's going to do to the rest of your life. So any of your interests or cares in life are going to be affected by using these opiates, even if they are pills and not heroin. If you can get that much dough on a constant, regular basis. Think about what it's going to do to your brain, how the decisions that you're going to make. So here you are, you're getting high, and now the decisions that you're going to make are going to be twisted up from the drugs. You get away from the drugs, your brain will go back to being better. I mean, still there's going to be you're taking your brain to a point to where it's possibly going to be some time before your brain is going to come around to understanding that there's other things that can make your brain feel reward, feel some kind of regular life kind of high, that you feel good about something that you've done. Now let's talk about the pattern here where someone's using and then they're getting away from it. All it has to be is one little thing that sets you off. You have a breakup, or someone puts you down or whatever, or you think that they put you down. Well, your brain isn't wanting your personality as an addictive person, you're good. Any kind of situation, you're going to go to your addiction, whatever it is. And I'm saying that addiction is going to the doing of whatever it is. That's most of what addiction is. It's not necessarily going and getting the high. It's the that you are doing all those things to get to getting high. So there's that familiarity. There's that relativity over and over again. That familiar. You're familiar with that doing. That's the addiction. You're constantly having to go to that. If your brain is saying that I'm not going to deal with this, I'm not going to deal with this, and you're just putting everything in the back, you're possibly subconsciously telling yourself that you're going to go, that's your fallback. Just, this is fucking shit, whatever, I'm just going to go and get high, basically. Or, for myself as an alcoholic, escaping, not wanting to look at the root situation, not wanting to deal with life, go into alcohol. You get away from the alcohol, then you realize more and more how much the alcohol brings you down in the first place. It's going to be the same with drugs, no doubt about it. I think the reason that I want to convey this information to one or more people, especially a younger person, is if you are thinking in your mind that you can do a moderate intake and that you can get on with using a little bit, what's going to happen is you're going to get that itch. You're going to get some of that withdrawal. You're going to get it's going to be there even with using it. So you're gonna up the dose. You're gonna up the dose. And then you're just more high, putting more stress on your body because you're using more. And if you're hanging on to going to school or whatever it is, so that way you can get on in life, in society, in the way society is put together, you're eventually just gonna stop going. And those things that you're hanging on to are not gonna be there anymore. It's going to get on top of you. It's possibly all started with just having a few drinks. It gets on top of you. Before you know it, it gets on top of you. And if that is how you're rolling, and you know that about yourself, and that's how I roll, I know that about myself, every time I go back to drinking, it gets on top of me. And there's no other way. Every time. So those drugs that you can get from different sources of getting money that you have right now, that's going to thin out. Because your body is not going to look as good. This is for the females. Your body's not going to look as good. And your resources that you can tap into are going to start going away. People are going to turn their backs on you because you're going to start lying. If you're not already lying to everyone, you're going to have to. Because no one is going to give you much of anything if they know that you're using drugs. They know enough that if they hand you anything or do anything with you, you're just going to be lying to them. That right there is possibly going to just bring you further down into that pit. Especially if your family is saying no, your friends are going away. The eventual thing that's going to happen is eventually you're going to have to go be buddies with people that are just going to pull you down even more. And you'll all have something in common. It's going down. You'll all have that in common. I see the enticing thing about
especially for a young female, how she can crank up all these amazing things that she can get as a young teenager. She can get validation upon validation. If you've got guys handing you money, lots of money, and you're basically turning off your personality and you're being what they want you to be, and you're getting high and you're with these guys that you think are really good looking and everything, you're just gonna get thrown away. Because the drugs are going to turn you out. They're not, it's everything that you do for your beauty and everything, you just, your pretentiousness and whatever it is, all you're gonna do is just keep tacking more of it on there. It's not gonna do anything for you. Think of your product that you have is you're wanting to get that product and your product's going to shit because you got to have that product. And if you've got to double up what you're using, if you're needing hundreds of dollars now, it's going to get to the point where you're needing twice that. Not too far off. So if you're coming home and you're staying away from everyone and you've got all these online things that you can do only for fans or whatever, and you can bring that money in and your life is just becoming all I want is the drugs, basically it's going to get to that. Your dreams, everything's just going to go out the fucking door because you're just going to be thinking much less of yourself, because all of those things that were turning you on about getting the attention and everything are all going to start to go down, because you're going to realize that those people don't give a shit about you. You're going to realize you're possibly going to feel some shame. You're going to think less of yourself. And if you're thinking less of yourself, that means you're not going to be thinking to do more for yourself. You're not going to be thinking to stop being around those people, to start being around other kinds of people. And if you've already made it up in your mind that that's the kind of person you are, there's the person that's 40 years old, 30 years old, walking around looking like they're 50 years old with their teeth gone, crying on the corner, lying to people every second. That's the hardcore future of someone who's not going to break that pattern. So what can you do to break that pattern? Understand what I'm saying. Take into account what I'm saying. BPD, bipolar, schizophrenia, individuals who are already in a vulnerable situation inside their brains where things drop through the ground and there's apathy and you don't know what to do, it's going to be even more of a situation to go to drugs. A lot of the methamphetamine and crack or cocaine, those are going to mess with the electrolytes, so you're going to feel a little better and also too, it's messing with your brain to feel better for a short amount of time. As soon as you come down, you're going to feel like absolute shit. And if you're more prone to depression and all those things, you're going to be in even more of a sinkhole. You're going to be, I can absolutely imagine that there's a big reason that schizophrenia individuals on the streets using drugs, lying every second of anything that comes out of their mouth is just a lie, a lie, a lie, a lie, a lie. It just makes sense. So you take this into account as well as to protect yourself and protect your life. This pattern, recognize it. That all the things that are turning you on right now and making you think that this is great, I'm getting this, I'm getting that. It's the addiction is the going to it and doing it. Remember that. Keep that in mind. Obsession and addiction are similar to each other. They're not the same. Addiction, it's a narrow scope. It's short-sighted, it's repetitive, and it's the doing. Going for it, going for it, going for it, and doing, and the doing, and the doing. So it's not so much having the cigarette, it's all the things that have to do with the cigarette in your mind. It's the getting the cigarettes. I've got to get the cigarettes. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I've got to have it going into my mouth. That's addiction. That's the pattern that I'm talking about. You're becoming addicted to all the things that you do. And it becomes narrow thinking. And so what's the reason for the person going and doing these things? Say a casino. What's the reason for a person going and doing that? Where a lot of people would say, oh my goodness, what is this person thinking? It's the going and the doing it. And then they've got that feeling because they're going and doing that same thing again that they're familiar with. For all the reason that it is with a casino or something that's connected with a high to boost your high. So say you've got some kind of fantasy, sexual fantasy, a young female. You have a sexual fantasy. There's a list of things that you want to cross off and try out. You're thinking this goes with drugs. Because as those drugs are used and used and used, and your receptors are down regulating, and you're wanting to get higher and higher and higher, you're not going to. So this is another point. You're not going to get higher. All it's going to be is just you doing it just to do it. It's going to be making you feel like shit. You're not going to be getting as high. You're just going to be using more of it. So that means you're going to have to go and get more of it, which means you've got to get more dough, which means you've got to go do things that are going to make you feel like shit about yourself and put you in a situation where people are going to use you, abuse you, and huck you out. So the worst people that you can be around, those are the people that are going to be there for you, that are going to take a shit right on your head. Now, if all of this is kind of scary to you, and you're thinking that you don't want to hear any of this stuff, and you're still listening, I think it's important. I think it's important to put it out there. I think it's important to recognize what I'm saying as a pattern that's leading young people to shit. So I'm aware that people get their stuff online now, and I'm aware that there's a bigger attraction to dealing. I understand this because it's been simplified, and I understand that they hide their stuff at the grocery store, and then they have kids go in and get their stuff because they took pictures of it, and they can go in there and get their stuff. So in your grocery store, there's all kinds of stuff hidden all over the place, and they can go in there and they can get this. And I'm watching little kids, and I've seen this for years now. Around the same time, there's always these young little 15-year-old, 16-year-old kids running into the door, and they always look the same. It seems like Groundhog Day. And then I go in there, and there's all these addicts in there that are obviously using heroin, and they're walking around. And one of them is the pusher. He's one of the female or whatever. There's a group, and they're the ones that are putting around, and then they're going to do their collection on whatever was left behind, however it is. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, this has been here all along. It's an empty, it's going to go to emptiness. It's going to start off as a high. It's going to start off as sweet. It's going to end completely shit. And I'm saying that's another thing in life that's entirely empty. And I've said it before, the people that I think with mental health situation that are in the pits, the fucking pits of pits, are people with hardcore schizophrenia and hardcore addiction, or just addiction, that they're gonna have their whole lives. People that I've known, that have been in my life, that I've seen, that I've talked to, that I've listened to their stories, I've listened to them open up to me about how there's no seeing their kids, that their kids live with their mom and dad, and even their parents are not going to let them see the kid, and crying to me about that, and myself saying to them, get yourself to realize this, and being very careful about the words that I'm using, and just being understanding and mostly listening. What I hear the most of is that there's nothing that they can do, and they know themselves too well. They know this pattern that they've gone into. Yeah. Well, if someone had maybe said something to them when they were 18 or 17, and they could get it, nip it in the bud before they started to go physically and they started to go mentally, that they can go to therapy, go to rehab, clear their system, and do everything you can to stay away from this and stay away from people that use it. So entirely overhauling your life is what you got to do. You got to remove your friends, you got to remove everyone. And then you got to go through the withdrawal, and you got to go through it all. And hand your phone over to your mom or your dad or someone that you have close to you. Turn it off. Hand your phone over to them. Turn off. Take the Wi-Fi out of your room. Take your fucking computer out of your room. Do whatever you have to do. Just sit there and think. And take it. Just sit there and think and take it. Think of all the things that you got to do to get yourself away from people. Write down what you've got to do. Write down a whole list of what you got to do. I've got to get all of my drug friends away from me, all my alcohol friends away from me. I got to completely turn my back on them. And you'll say, well, these are my friends. I'm not going to turn my back on them. What about loyalty, all that? No. You guys are friends because you're alcoholics together. You're friends because you do drugs together. That's why you're friends. Because sure as shit, if they've got to go, they're going to turn their backs on you. Straight up. Let me tell you about a friend I had from my early 20s. She's a gal. Her and I knew each other from we were acquaintances at first. And then we got close to each other. We never had a romantic relationship. She was just my friend. And we were buddies. She drank, and I drank. And we'd go to parties, and we'd do this, and we'd do that. She used pills. And she'd openly talk to me about it, and she'd put them in her mouth. We'd be at a party, and she'd, oh, this is great. And she'd get her pills and opiates. And she got to the point where she was talking about it a bit more and a bit more. Well, I didn't talk to her for years. And then she came into my life. She said, hey, how you doing? How you doing? And I went over and I picked her up one day. She said, yeah, let's hang out. And I just moved into a place that's right down the street from me. Oh? So I go down and I pick her up. She walks out the door. She has the scabs all over her face from picking her face. That's from opiates. Well, I already know she's used as opiates. Well, at this point, with scabs all over the face, that's generally going to be heroin from all the histamines from the opiates. Also be from pills too. At this point, where she was at, probably heroin. Right off the bat, she says, "Oh hey, can we just go over to this parking lot over here real quick? I just gotta meet with someone and get something." Right off the bat, she's lying to me. We go over there, we pull up. Here's a nice black SUV pulls up. I'm just sitting there. Okay, She goes, she gets in the car. She's sitting in there for about 10 minutes. She gets out, she comes back. So she got whatever. She smoked whatever. She loaded up, did whatever. She got back in the car. She sits down, she's looking at me for a couple minutes. She's looking around. She's checking the mirror every 5 seconds. Oh, how do I look? How do I look? Cuz they want to make sure that they're not looking too much. She's got scabs on her lips from hitting pipes and everything. And she turns to me and says, "Do you have a credit card?" I say, now I'm pissed. I'm saying, "Why in the fuck are you asking me that?" "Oh, it's nothing. It's okay." I'm being nice to her. We go out. I get her some pizza. We're sitting there talking. And then she starts opening up to me that she doesn't know what to do in life. She's not admitting to really anything. She just, I don't know what to do. And I'm saying all these things. Yeah, how about doing this in life? How about doing this in life? No, I don't know. I just was basically watching her come down from her high. So that's another thing you got to keep in mind is every time you're coming down from your high, you're going to be depressed. You're going to feel like shit. So how are you ever going to get out of that pit? She wasn't. So all these years she was still using drugs and I wasn't talking to her. Now I'm sitting there with her and I'm saying to myself, well, this is miserable. Still, I'm being nice. So she's saying, "Oh, can I use your this and this so I can send emails and blah blah." She's getting to the point where she's just using people. She lies to me. She says, "I need to go downtown because I need to talk to a some something that had to do with a reason that she had to go downtown." And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh fuck, I'm gonna drive downtown with her out of nowhere." Oh, okay. So I'm being nice. I take her downtown, and of course, "Oh no, that's not gonna happen. Can we go meet my friend though?" "Okay, where at?" "Oh, we'll just go over to the skate park over here, and they're just parked over there. It's my friend." Lying again, again. Lying. We roll up, same SUV, same fucking guys. She gets out of the car. She goes and gets in their car. Same thing. 10 minutes, comes back. She has her lip. Her lip is bleeding because she was just hitting a pipe, and she says, "Oh, my lip's bleeding." And I got their license plate and everything. I said, "You know what? This is fucking bullshit." No, don't do anything. Just leave it. No. She was real adamant about that because she's got to protect her addiction. So I finally got pissed off. I just crumbled it up and threw it out the window. I said, "All right, fuck it. I'm pissed at this point." And I said, "All you've been doing is just lying to me all day long." And this is a perfect example of how your pattern is going to lead you to just being lying. No one is going to want anything to do with you. No one. I got her home, and I said, "All right, just whatever, whatever. Be off with you." And she started bawling. "Are you not going to have anything to do with me anymore?" I said, I don't know. Just all day long, all you've been doing is lying to me." I know. She gives me a hug. "Can I have a hug?" I gave her a hug. I said, "Okay, all right. Well, take care of yourself. Just do whatever you got to do just to take care of yourself." "Okay, I will." All day long, I was just being a nice guy. And what was I? A target. About 5 months later, she emails me and says, "Oh, well, I'm clean now. All is well." And I say, "Well, I'll be around. Good for you. I'll be around." I didn't say, "Oh, you want to get together?" No. And I also let her know that for a good month after that, I felt like total shit. Because that doesn't make me feel good. For one, to see that. I don't like being fucking lied to like that. I don't like that. And being used. And asked if I have a credit card or whatever. All in all, I haven't heard from her since. And I miss her a lot because she was always fun and happy when she was younger, when I first knew her. And that to see what happens to people that are needing pills and needing alcohol, it just goes to show that if it's a party today, 10 years from now, it's not a party anymore. No one's partying anymore. You're just filling yourself back up every day with the same old garbage. And it's just worse shit that you're taking in. You're just using heroin at this point. You're just smoking crack. And no doubt that most people that are using drugs like that are cycling the drugs that they use. They're cycling heroin, they're cycling to crack, and then to meth. There's no doubt about it. I've talked to people about this. I mean, a lot of them are not going to admit to it. When they start to talk to you about it, they admit to it. That they use anything they can get their hands on, basically. They'll tell you, oh, no, I'm not really into that. I'm maybe a little bit more into that. No. Anything they can get their hands on, they're probably going to use it. If they dislike one or the other, yeah, okay. Still, they're going to be using all of them, generally. So you're a young person, you're watching this, or an older person, and you're just playing around, smoking some weed and whatever, and you're getting a little closer to people. You know, even when I was a young guy in high school, I was hanging out with some kids I knew, and I didn't hang out with them too often. And here I am, I'm hanging out with them because we were going to smoke some weed. And what did they pull out? Foils with their Coke on it, and they're sitting there doing foils. And they're saying, "Hey, do you want to do some? Do you want to do some?" And I said, "Fuck no, man. I don't want to do that shit." And I said, "First of all, what the fuck are you doing smoking it off of the foil, man? What the fuck? What the hell's the matter with you guys?" And here I am, we're 18 years old. And I'm just sitting there saying, because they're saying, "Well, we don't have any weed." So, well, fuck. Because all I wanted to do is just smoke a little weed when I was a younger guy. Well, that didn't last too long. I got away from that. I basically, the only thing that I've, my situation with my life has been alcohol. Alcohol, alcohol, alcohol. I'm an alcoholic, and I admit that. Once you admit that you're a drug addict, then that's when you'll realize this, that I'm saying to you. You say to yourself, I am a drug addict. If you're going towards pills and you're going towards any of that kind of stuff, you're probably going to end up like my friend. And she's not the only person that I've encountered. And she's not the only person that I know that I've engaged with that has that addiction personality. And whatever my friend's story was from her childhood or even mine, there's people that could go through all of those things in life and still not be using drugs. There's still people with addictions that are not using drugs. So keep that in mind. You could ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is he talking about with these patterns? And does he know what he's talking about when I'm saying that your body is going to not maintain a certain amount of drug? You're going to use more, or you're going to go to drugs that will make you feel better, that cost less. So, i.e., that'd be, if you have a cocaine addiction, you're more than likely going to go to crack. If you have an opiate addiction, you're going to go to heroin. Because, as I'm saying, you're not going to have the dough to keep getting those oxycodones. You're not going to have it. It's going to go to heroin. So if you want to do something for yourself and you say, okay, yeah, I want to do something for myself. The first step, if you seriously are having hell on this, you're probably going to have to go to the rehab that your you've probably been offered this. You're gonna need to go to that rehab so that way you could just get through the withdrawals, and then do everything you can to X out everyone in your life that uses drugs. To completely eliminate them from your life, and reconstruct what your life is going to be, because you can do it. You can make new friends. You can have a loving relationship with someone, after all. And if you made yourself lie and lie and lie, then rethink about how you can go over pain, you can go over shitty things in life, and get to other things in life without the substances. You can do it. It is something that you can do. Drugs are not something that gets you over the hump. It's making the fucking hell. It's making a bigger hell for you. You get what I'm saying? So you've got a lot of ways you can go in life. It is a matter of sitting down and mapping it out on a piece of paper, saying, this is what I'm going to do. And when you know that you're going to do that and you stay to it, that's the time. So you realize that there's time to do that, and it can be done. I've eliminated a lot of people from my life, and I've brought other people into my life. And as you get older in life, people go away anyways. You still got to live with yourself. You still got to live with yourself. And does a person really want to go into emptiness, or do you want to go into something sweeter in life? I'm here. If you want to talk, I'm here. I'm not a recovering drug addict. So I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been around a lot of people that have used drugs. I know a lot about this kind of stuff. I know a lot about the body. I know what the drugs do to the body. And I understand the patterns of falling back in. And the enticements and the things that turn you on about this grandeur life. So you can always come around and talk to me if you want to. I'm here. And best to you. Take care.